Oh, I'm sorry.
To the audience, Zio. You're live streaming.
The Black Girls Gamer is an online platform that elevates Black women's visibility in gaming through content creation, consultation, brand partnership, and more. Established in 2015, the group has contributed to a shift in the industry, the creation of more Black female characters.
Admit
It
it.
has hoped to expand Black girl gamers to other places like West Africa to continue having an impact in the space.
I can
Yeah,
kind of
West
respect that.
Ah, is there anything in West Africa? Anyway,
Desert.
GameRant recently spoke to the CEO and founder J. Ann Lopez on the persecutions of the lack of diversity and inclusion in the most beloved video games and entertainment franchises like Final Fantasy and Harry Potter. And how this has trickled down to the impact of Black and non-white people on different levels. The following transcript has been edited for brevity and clarity.
Now, I want to point out something real quick. Notice they pointed to Final Fantasy and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, okay, they're just throwing shade. Secondly, they said the following transcript had been edited down for brevity and clarity. I legit thought that they were going to remove stuff that was just egregiously offensive.
Probably.
I was wrong. Maybe they did, but they failed. Continue.
For our readers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Do I really have to read this? Lopez, I'm the founder of CEO Black Gamers, blah, blah, blah. We were blah, blah, blah. Initially, a lack of content creators didn't know how to work with brands on a bigger scale. So a lot of them done that and gone out to the networks, and we taught them essentially the way we work is through events, consultation.
Okay, hang on. You skipped some up top there. Since
This
then,
already know. We've been doing this since 2015, originally starting a Facebook group. Since then, we've been instrumental in helping changing the narrative regarding diversity and inclusion, showing content creators how to work with brands. Yeah, that's it's just a repeat from up here.
What I'm saying is, right there is a admittance that they're trying to influence companies and brands. Not just work with them, but influence them.
Oh yeah, we've already known that. We talked about this last week.
I know, with SBI, but what I'm saying is this group is admitting the quiet part out loud in this line.
Okay.
But I know you're trying to get through this so you can go to bed.
No, it's just like that's what I keep saying when I say things like SBI and Black Girl Gamers all last week. I touched on them the entire time. I know, and then I mentioned Black Girl Gamers when we spoke about Forsaken.
I know,
for that
but
brief moment.
This is a different group, Zio, so we have to go over this too.
I know. They're the other SBI.
Yeah.
They're the ones who won't hire you unless you're black. Or I'm sorry, POC. So, that's illegal, but whatever.
Oh,
they're the ones who did Forsaken. And they failed horribly. They took credit for all that too. And that's where they worked with Square.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the same group. This is the same article where we were pulling excerpts from previously. It's just we were talking about SBI, so we didn't stay on it for too long.
Okay. Well, shit. Yeah. Watch that video.
They're the ones who wrote. They're the ones. Well, SBI also said the quiet part out loud too. So, multiple times.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, like, yeah, they said a lot of the quiet part out loud in this repeatedly, and I'm like, this is not. And the fact that they linked to this article themselves, I'm like, this is not the thing y'all wanted to link to.
Do you feel that you were ostracized because video games are seen as masculine and traditional masculine? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Their answer is yes, of course. And it's part of the reason why we started, because I knew I wasn't the only one. If I do it and someone else does it, I knew that I wasn't the only one. Did I just read that twice? It is part
Mm,
of the reason I started. I knew I wasn't the only one. If I do it, then someone
no,
else does
you
it.
got it right.
I knew I wasn't the only. This is why I can't read these things.
Because
This
it
is a
hurt.
trans. This is edited, right? As you were saying at the top,
Mm-hmm.
edited for bravery and clarity, and you're still gonna. Oh, okay. Anyway, they would play games in front of me and hardly ever share while I was around their house. Or I'm sorry, growing up, there was a family friend that would go to their house, two boys, and they would play games in front of me and hardly ever share while I was around their house. And our moms were talking. Their mom said something sometimes, and they would sometimes share then. But more often than not, they would just not do it. Okay? And
Okay, children.
I mean, technically, they're all children in this example, but
I
and
know that's what I'm saying. Kids do that though. That
I mean, I have to tell the kid, hey, let your brother play all the time. And they're both guys, they're both boys.
yeah,
It's not that they're boys, and you're not a boy, therefore you
and
didn't.
also
It's
you're
just
kind of a you're kind of
okay.
a guest, so it's
Yeah,
kind of rude to just assume that you have dibs on the game system.
I also never saw a black girl character. And if she was, she's the neck popping sassy stereotype, which was commonly. Okay, you know what? Real quick.
Is that what they make?
You guys helped with a game known as Forsaken, done by Square Enix. Do you know what I noticed in Forsaken? The fucking stereotype that you guys let happen. Frey, that's her name, right? Frey, Fran, something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. You know what? She's fatherless, was abandoned. Um, you know, all these other black stereotypes, all molded into one video game character, right? For a company that was supposed to break people out of these stereotypes, you did a really damn good job at not actually doing that and perpetuating them. The only thing that would have made it even sweeter as a stereotype is if when the house was burning, there was a bucket of KFC and some Kool Aid on the table that she couldn't get because she had to get the cat because the money laying next to her also couldn't be got when she could have grabbed the bag, slung it on her shoulder, grabbed the cat, and run. You know. But anyway,
Yeah, no, you're
sorry.
no, you're
But
right.
that
It
really pisses me off because their big thing at one point was talking about how they're trying to prevent stereotypes. That's the whole point to their existence, right? And that and SBI. And what do? They make a game with Square and immediately throw half these stereotypes straight in there.
and that's one of the biggest criticisms of this group, this Black Gamer Girl group, is that they do like every character they've been involved in, from what I've heard, is just a black stereotype, and a lot of black gamers can't fucking stand this group. You go on Twitter, you see they're like, "I'm black, fuck you."
Let's see. Anyway, yeah, listen, you were a guest at somebody's house. They had a Nintendo. Sorry they wouldn't let you play Player 2. It fucking happens. Anyway, it had nothing to do with the fact that you were a girl. It's just you weren't the one who normally was there.
Yeah. And she even said there was 2 boys. You
Yeah.
know how many Nintendo games were more than 2 player? Like
Uh,
1.
I'm trying to think. Anyway, I know
Mm,
there was a multi-tap for the Nintendo. I just can't remember what it was for. Bomberman. Anyway, um, that one had 4. Anyway, did you know any other girls who played video games too? No, not really. Yeah, I know. There's this thing about gaming girls being a unicorn. Like that was a thing for us guys to talk about. It's like, the second one of us finds a girlfriend who also likes video games, that would be the unicorn.
yeah.
I
Then
mean,
we
I'm
found out
sorry.
it's nowadays we find out it's a fucking trap,
It could
both
be nowadays.
metaphorically and possibly literally.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's not like there hadn't been games geared towards women in the past. They existed.
Yeah.
It just
Called The Sims.
The Sims. There's a bunch of shovelware stuff too throughout the
Candy
years.
Crush.
Um, but anyway, yeah, you don't remember them because they were unicorns. You mentioned how there was hardly any black women characters in video games. Were there any video games that made you wish that their character was a woman of color or a black woman? I would flip the whole premise of a number of games, especially the ones that go into countries
This is what I
and
want
get
to
their
focus on.
relics. I would flip that on their heads. They've
Right here,
always
she's saying that I want to culturally appropriate your
Laura
stuff.
Craft.
Huh?
Laura Craft.
Yeah. She wants to culturally appropriate other cultures that are European and race swap them. She is admitting that right here.
Not really. I mean,
Am
she's
I
like, but to
misreading
be
that?
honest, no, I'm not adverse to having white characters. I'm just annoyed at how prevalent they are.
Oh,
She
okay.
just wished, there was more that were black, you know?
I,
But
I yeah, I forgot about
then
that last.
again, when you think about settings and stuff, and you've taken like the English woman of Laura Croft, you know, anyway. I wouldn't want to change an existing character that I can think of at the moment. One of my favorite games is The Witcher 3. Is predominantly based on a Polish novel. I have seen no need for me to change their main character. Well, that would be weird because it's a Polish novel. Anyway, what I want is more stories that are authentic to black, brown, non-white people of color to be reflected in, and they
And
did that with Forsaken
and honestly, I
and
can
hit
agree with
stereotypes while they were at it.
I can agree with that want, and I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
But you gotta do it right, or you're gonna look like a piece of shit.
I don't want to necessarily have a race bend an existing character for me.
Okay,
It's
so I
not.
apologize. I misread that top part completely wrong.
That's fine. I want some original content. Yeah, like this is a group that was started with good intentions, right? And
Yeah.
I know we keep crapping on them because of Forsaken and how bad that was. But at the same time, this is one of those people that actually does have good intentions. They're just bad at it.
Well, here's the thing. I also think that I'm of a mind that it does not matter what you say, it matters what you do. So you
Oh
can
yeah.
say, I want some original content, but unless you make original content, do you really want it?
Well, yeah, they did Forsaken. Forsaken with Square Enix. That was original. It was crappy,
Well,
which was sad because it actually has the potential to be a really good game with some refinement.
no, what I'm saying is like in regards to like representation of African culture. Because so when I was in elementary school, middle school, we actually had a lot of classes and stuff that actually hit on African culture, and I thought it was really like not like the feel bad because you're white kind of thing, but like actually learning like the different tribes and the different cultures that they had in history. Really neat stuff, and like the art that came from those tribes. It was really neat. Um, but oh, and I got to see like the different war masks that they had. Is really cool. Um, they could have done like a representation of like modern day culture, the historical representation of African culture, all sorts of different ways to come at this, but they keep doing these like stereotypical things. So I can't help but question, do you really want it or do you say that you want it because it's the thing to say? Is this where I'm coming at it?
Yeah. This next thing I'm not even going to really touch right now. I don't have the energy for it. But this idea of people, this is where I think they're definitely misguided.
Yeah.
Is they're talking about we need representation because I need to see myself in the medium, and I'm just like, why? I can every game that exists right now. I don't think there is a single game that represents me anywhere in any game at all. The only ones that would come close is if there's a character editor and I decide to make a character that looks as close to me as possible. And that would be the only time that I would ever be represented in a game. But their idea of being represented is, oh, well, there's so many games with white people in it. That's cool. They still don't represent me, you fucking idiot. I don't understand that at all. But, it's whatever.
I mean, actually,
But
I got a
that's
game that
essentially like this entire paragraph here. So,
yeah. Actually, I got a game that represents you.
mm,
A couple years old, but
I own that fucker.
well, there you go.
I own that because my oldest really likes it. He plays it on my
Uh-huh.
Steam account.
He wants to be
Let's
just
see.
like Papa.
Uh, let's see. One of the biggest reasons I think.
We can move on if you want
Blah.
to.
I love the point you bring home or bring about Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I'm Filipino, and I remember Harry Potter. They had like one Asian girl in Harry Potter, and I was like, oh my god, an Asian person in Harry Potter. Again, that probably has everything to do with the setting. But
Yeah.
okay, guys.
I mean, I think if I remember right, the student that was Asian was a transfer student from a school in Japan.
Yeah. She was from another wizarding school from one of the Asian countries,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, which is why she was Asian.
What a
I'm
shock.
sure if there was a wizarding school in Africa, it would be full of people of color, right? So,
That's another thing with the whole Resident Evil
yeah.
5 thing.
Oh gosh, are we going to get into Resident Evil 5? The thing is
No, we'll save that for later because I know we're going long.
have you seen video games that do not have, or have you seen any video games that do have a strong female black character or a black female character? I don't need a strong black female character, to be honest. We have lots of strong black women. This whole trope of being strong as a black woman in itself is a whole discussion. Really? Is it? Anyway, I see diverse, underrepresented characters in games like Apex who have kind of covered a lot of. Oh, yeah, this is where they're talking about how, I guess, the first so many characters in the roster and they were all white or something like that.
It, this
Uh,
yeah, this point right here,
But
she
that
likes
that again goes back to. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
she likes seeing all these characters in Apex and Overwatch, but earlier she said she didn't need to. She didn't care about swapping them, and I'm like, well, seems like you kind of enjoyed that part.
Well, they weren't swapped. It's just they made a new character and gave her a
They
tan.
they changed several characters in Overwatch.
Well, no, they didn't change the skin color of anybody. I mean, they've changed other things like Soldier whatever is like gay or
Oh,
something stupid like that out of nowhere
true.
because Blizzard, for those who don't know, had this thing where when shit was hitting the fan and the whole place was burning down, they hit the gay button, where
Yeah,
suddenly magically one of their characters suddenly became gay and had been gay since its inception, and they just forgot to tell everybody for 3 years. It
yeah,
was a magical thing. And the worst part is these idiots online took it hook, line, and sinker too, and they're like celebrating. Oh my god, I can't believe he's gay. It's like, dude, he was never gay. He still isn't gay. They're just telling you that now because they're in trouble with the FCC or whoever it is because women are being groped in the office or whatever it was.
yeah. Yeah. But
But
no, like
yeah, they
I'm just saying the way she's saying like she doesn't want to see things swapped. She just wants to see representation, and then things get swapped for representation.
well that's the thing. It's not. What she's talking about is Apex Legends. Apex, Overwatch, that sort of thing. They make a new character, they make him POC, right?
Which is fine.
Which is fine. That's what she's talking about. Meanwhile, she doesn't want to see them do like make Laura Craft suddenly black,
Yeah, yeah.
which makes sense. Which actually lines in alignment with a lot of people who are on the GG side of things.
You know, I could see like another character in the Lara Croft series that's like a cohort of hers doing kind of like the same work as her, being black. You know what I'm saying? Like not replacing her or nothing, but like it's not like a two-player thing. I don't know.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's actually, I think, what she's saying right here. What I'm also looking for these companies that create franchises around white characters like Tomb Raider, The Witcher 3, Nathan Drake's The Last of Us are playable protagonists that have their own franchises that are non white. We don't see that very often, which again comes from usually the setting and where these people are coming from.
Yeah.
Japanese games have a lot of Japanese people in them
Yep.
because it's Japan.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. I think
Meanwhile, if you have a studio that is like more black or something like that from like I don't know Louisiana or Alabama or something like that, I guarantee you they would probably produce games that are more black centric.
yeah,
It's
I
just we
think
don't. Oh
that's
yeah,
something they're kind of not really realizing is that it's all about region, like you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. And then when the English, which are primarily white for their entire history, make something like Harry Potter in an English setting, in an older English setting too,
Yeah.
especially in an older English setting, a lot of people are going to be more English, right? It's how that works. Which is also why when you get something like Resident Evil 5 and it is set in Africa, a lot of the zombies, it was set in Africa, right?
Yeah. It was in
Yeah,
Africa.
it's been a hot minute. A lot of the zombies happen to be black. But then people get all upset about that and talk about how racist it is. And it's like, guys, that's the setting. But anyway,
You weren't mad about Raccoon City.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The only one that I can remember that I've played is not even a franchise. It was a singular game, Nilm from Remember Me. I know that there's Flintlock coming out, and so those are two games where the protagonists are either biracial or black descendant and black characters. And here's the other problem too, right? Because you have Sweet Baby Inc. and they are purposely doing stupid shit,
Yep.
which then would give somebody like this a really bad rep because they are trying to do. I mean, just from this, just from reading this article, it does seem like this person's heart is in the right place when trying to do this. They're not trying to race swap or change things or sex change anybody or anything like that. Meanwhile, Sweet Baby is actively doing those things. They
Yeah.
want to take Laura Craft and make her uh, trans black something another, right? They're the ones who want to go out and say that Samus Aran is trans for some God knows what reason. They're the
Yeah.
ones who want to race swap constantly.
The more I read this and the more I'm talking to you about it, yeah, I gotta agree. I was definitely off base on this one,
Now,
and and yeah, they seem to have their heart in the right place. Uh, there, what was it that tied them to SBI though? Was it funding?
no, it was the fact that they did Forspoken, right? And they're in the same general. They're in the same kind of category, right?
Oh, the consultation
They're
thing.
the
That's what it
consultation
was.
thing. Forspoken was a bad game for a variety of reasons. Bad, cringy dialogue, did the stereotyping, especially for somebody who wants to not stereotype. They unfortunately did the stereotype, right? Because whatever reason. Anyway, it was bad, cringy dialogue. It was the way you progress and things like that through the game, um, like having access to some of the best stuff right at the very end, so you don't actually get to experience any of that stuff throughout the game. That's like one of the biggest sins for me in a game, right?
Yeah,
Is when you finally unlock the awesome shit, and it's like, oh, by the way, the last boss is through the next corridor. Oh, and you can't go back.
they
And
did
it's
that in a
like,
lot of
really?
A lot of the older Final Fantasy games did that, and that always
Yeah,
irked me.
yeah. Like that's one of the reasons why I want to eventually play FF8 again, because I missed out on a lot of the in-game stuff because I didn't know you could leave the orphanage and actually go across the future world and collect the rest of the shit. I thought I had just missed it in general, and it turns out I was supposed to leave and go collect it. But then when you go into the castle, you can't go back.
Final Fantasy IX is the worst for that because Steiner gets a not just the sword, but he gets like the ultimate sword at the absolute end after you beat the boss,
Yeah.
but you can't
And
use
it,
it.
and it's just like, why would you do this? This is bad game design in general.
Like
Now,
you can't
granted,
even
they
use it.
didn't.
It's literally just on your save.
Yeah. Now, granted, they didn't make Forspoken. Square Enix did it, but they were the ones consulting and making a lot of those changes for Spoken. But when it comes to like maybe the game design and stuff, that was a Square Enix call, and it was a
Yes.
bad call on Square.
Yeah.
Because
Anyway,
quite frankly, Forspoken has potential. With a bit of refinement, it could have probably been a decent game. But if you guys had anything to do with the writing in that game, don't. You need to fix that.
yeah. I think they did say they had a hand in that. So
Yeah, I think they did, which is where they get a lot of the heat from because Forspoken was a bad game.
yeah,
I
and
mean, and that's where they get all their heat from because if you talk about Black Girls Gamer, it's usually within the context of Forspoken. So,
arguably people make mistakes. Look, come at it again, learn from your mistakes.
Let's see. So those two games where the protagonists are racial, depending on how your characters characterize blackness, but they're black female protagonists. Again, it's far and few between. I can name two and Forspoken, which is three. But in the whole history of gaming, it's not very great. Uh, there
I
were
can name
also other indie games called Dondrea, which is Brazilian, that had a black female protagonist character from an indie studio.
so she's saying black protagonists or black characters.
Black protagonist.
Okay.
Main
Well,
character is black. Yeah.
I was about to say because I can name a bunch of games that have black characters that are amazing. Sergeant Johnson, right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the Mega Man franchise, there's 1,000 of them, but still.
But protagonists,
You
I'd have
know,
to think about that.
yeah, there really isn't that many, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
And except unless you include every game where you can customize your character.
Yeah.
If you add all those, which of course is something that people forget exist apparently, there's actually quite a few games where you can have a black protagonist,
Yep.
or a white, or a yellow, or a blue protagonist.
Purple.
Yeah. Has there been any video games that you've seen that have gone in the right direction in terms of diversity? Apex is definitely one of them. Uh, yeah. Anyway,
And they
can you
got
talk about how video games can be therapeutic, especially for people of color? It depends on everyone's personal relationship with gaming. Okay, I think we all understand how gaming
yeah.
can be therapeutic.
I
We
think
don't need somebody explaining it.
yeah.
I mean, that first sentence pretty much says it all. It depends on everyone's personal relationship with gaming.
Yeah.
What are some things that Black Girl Gamers are doing to create this space for inclusivity and diversity? The first thing is community. Okay, we have a safe, enclosed community for Black and women, non binary people, and spaces that have experienced sexism and racism in the gaming industry. Well, no, because people who are like non binary and shit, they kind of need to be in straitjackets. But anyway,
Agreed.
um, we did away with that stuff. The gaming industry or just want to connect with other Black women gamers. This is community of almost 10,000. We then also work for our community to do workshops and mentor programs to connect people who want to work in the industry with brands. That knowledge that they can understand that this is the area I want to work in and get some advice on that.
The one thing
Well,
that the one thing I will say though about the whole like working in the industry, these inclusivity things, and by the way, this flip that for a minute. How do you think people would react if I said we're running a white only? There'd be freaking riots.
oh yeah, that's why I said, if they just hire like Black girls, there's an issue there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And here's another thing, providing talent for the likes of Google. So they work with Google. What came out recently about Google? They had a atmosphere of fear or a what was it? A basically they were terrified of HR.
Doesn't look like there's anything
Yeah, there
worthwhile in
isn't
the
much
rest of
left in
this.
that.
Yeah, there's nothing else really here.
That picture right there is not formatted good. It is squished.
I don't know. got too much airtime on the top there. But anyway,
You want to hit these next ones real quick?
was there more?
I see a bunch of tabs open. I don't know.
Anyway, so when it comes down to it, they get heat from Forspoken. Other than that, I think I can't remember if it was somebody in this group or if it was just Sweet Baby Inc. stuff came off as a massive racist somewhere.
That was Sweet Baby.
Was it Sweet Baby?
Yeah,
Other than
that
that, I
said
can't
you
really
can't
think of
be.
any other flack that they get
Oh,
outside of the fact that they're a consulting group. But the person in charge seems to have their heart in the right place, although they are bad at their job, it would seem.
but wait, are you talking about the you can't be racist towards white people thing?
Yeah.
That was actually Kotaku.
Oh,
That was a
jeez, they bleed together.